Hello everyone, my name is Melanie Hapisu. I will be your trainer for the next 45 minutes to an hour. Thank you so much for taking time to join in today. I really appreciate this. Today's session is basically around making the best out of your paid advertisements. Why that topic? Because then I've realized lots of people are either scared to run paid ads on digital platforms because they either don't know how to do it or they've spent money before and it didn't go well, and so on and so forth. So today's session is basically just to give you an idea of some of the things that you need to sort of look into when you're setting up your ad and all that to be able to make the best out of it. So maybe before we start off, I'm seeing a few other people are joining in. Feel free to take this time to introduce yourself in the chat. Tell us your name and what you do. You never know, your next client, your next employer, you know, your next best person to network with may actually be on this call. So feel free to just introduce yourself in the chat, your name, and just in one sentence, what you do as we wait for the other people who are in the waiting room to join in. So for those who just joined in, feel most welcome. We're introducing ourselves in the chat, your name, and a summary of what you do. Feel free to take advantage of this opportunity to network with a few other people. Yeah, if you'd like to also leave a way to reach out to you, feel free to do the same. Then whoever would be interested to reach out to you will do that. So I'll just give us a minute or two to do that, and then we shall start off. Thanks, Anne. Welcome, welcome, welcome. In case you just joined in, we're introducing ourselves in the chat, your name and what you do. Please take advantage of this. You never know who you may be meeting on this call. So as we do that, this session, for those who have attended my training before, most of the time I don't use slides. I like my sessions to be conversational, especially if they are this short, because then you're most likely to remember what we've talked about. So after the session, I'll share the recording and whatever document I may have for you to sort of look through thereafter. Today, we are talking about how to make the best out of your paid digital advertising for your brand. So that's what we're going to be talking about. And we'll talk about it from a perspective of if you're running adverts on social media or any other platform, what are some of the things that you really need to keep in mind for you to be able to make the best out of your paid advertising. So thank you, Carol. Feel most welcome. Thank you, Priscilla. Welcome, welcome, welcome. Feel free to introduce yourself, guys. People are doing their introductions in the chat. So as we keep going with the session, I will sort of introduce a certain concept through conversation, but in addition to that, I'll practically show it to you on the other side of some of the platforms, just so that you can have an idea of what exactly I mean. For today's demos, I'll stick to Facebook as a platform because for social media, that is, I'll stick to Facebook as a platform because once you know how to run ads on Facebook, I think the rest are sort of a little bit easier or sort of related. So I'm not teaching you how to run ads. I'm just teaching you how to make the best out of your paid advertising so that you know what are some of the things that could affect either the results you get or even the amount of money that you spend on your different digital marketing platforms. So I think we've had a few introductions. Thank you, Evans. Feel most welcome. In case anyone hasn't introduced themselves, feel free to continue doing so as we go by, but I think we'll just start off. So when running ads, you have a number of potential platforms to run them on when it comes to the digital space. This could be on a social media platform, this could be on a website, this could be on a mobile app, and so on and so forth. So all those are opportunities for you to sort of run your advertisement. So you realize that for most people, if we're talking social media, for instance, most people have probably run adverts on platforms like Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, and LinkedIn, for example. While when we're talking about maybe websites and applications, then you'll hear most people talking about a platform called Google Ads. So Google Ads allows you to run adverts on Google itself as a platform. They also allow you to run ads on websites and applications that they've partnered with to allow them to sort of showcase the adverts. But in addition to that, they also allow you to run ads on platforms like YouTube. So you can already see when it comes to the different platforms you can sort of do your paid advertising on, there's quite a variety of them. It's not just social media, but there's the Google side of it, which we'll also briefly look at today. So I'll start off with social media. When you're running an advert on social media, what are the important things you need to look at that will probably affect either how your advert will perform or how much you actually spend on that advertisement? So the first thing you need to choose wisely is what post are you going to be using or promoting when it comes to the ad? If it's not a post that has already gone up on your feed, for example, you need to ask yourself what visual or which copy should actually accompany that specific advert. Why is this important? Because sometimes, because you're targeting different people, there are those who will be attracted to your advert based on the caption, which is the text that usually comes above or below the image. Then there are those who will be attracted by your image. So because you're talking to different people, you need to figure out what or how will you communicate your message on both spaces so that then you're able to attract as many people as possible. Sometimes you could even be targeting someone who is more text-based, but for them, it's the visual that will attract them to stop. So something you need to keep in mind, so many brands are talking online. So many companies are probably even running paid advertisements. So you really need to be careful when it comes to how does yours look? What is going to make someone pay attention, read, and make them finally reach out in the end? So after understanding what visual and copy you're going to use for your advertisement, the next thing you need to be able to figure out is what goal would you like to achieve and how exactly will you measure that the goal has been achieved. So depending on the platform you use for your advertising, you will realize that different platforms sometimes have different goals. So depending on how time goes, I may be able to just have the privilege of showing you these different platforms and sort of some of the goals that appear on each. So you'll realize maybe on Facebook, the goal may be slightly different from how it would be on a platform like, let's say, Twitter, for example. So you need to be very careful with the goal you want to achieve. And sometimes the goals listed on those platforms may not be stated in the same way you know your goal. So don't feel like every goal you may have will be exactly as you stated it. So it's good to always choose whatever is almost very closely related to what you want to achieve. And once you choose that goal, it's important for you to know how exactly will that goal be measured based on that advertisement you're doing. So if your goal is to maybe get more messages and you select that on a platform like Facebook, then obviously the measurement you're going to be looking for is the number of messages you received. If your goal is maybe to drive people to your website, then what you'll be measuring will probably be something like the number of website visitors or clicks that you are able to push to a specific website that you have. So you need to understand your goal. After that, you also need to understand your target audience. So as I show you the demo in a few minutes, you'll realize that when you're defining your target audience, when you're running a paid ad, you're not just talking to people who follow your page. You're able to talk to them and their friends. You're able to talk to only them alone. You're able to actually define a whole new target audience based on age, based on gender, and even based on location. Sometimes even based on interest, which you'll get to see. But most of all, what also determines how well your advert performs? Your budget. I think you've probably heard this before. The more you spend, the more results you get. I'm not telling you to spend 1 million, but I'm also not telling you to spend a shilling, for example. So realistically, these different platforms have different amounts they allow you to spend. So for example, a platform like Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, and Google Ads, they allow you to spend a minimum of $1 a day. Does that minimum mean you'll reach as many people as possible? No. Of course, they'll each give you the estimate. And that's why I'm telling you, the more you spend, the higher chances of you reaching more people. So I think I'll just go into sharing my screen so that then we can sort of understand and have an idea of what I'm talking about. So the first demo I'll do is to sort of show you on the different platforms, where exactly do you find, let me just call it the button that allows you to run adverts. So for those of you who are more experienced digital marketers on this call, you'll realize that you probably know another way of setting up ads, but usually for these trainings, I like to treat everyone like a beginner. So I will show you the simplest way, and I will sort of tell you the advantages and disadvantages of it. Remember, I'm not showing you how to really set up ads. I'm just guiding you through some of the things you need to highlight. For some platforms, you'll sort of see the whole process of how you set up the ads. For others, it may need a bit more time. So I'll encourage you to maybe look for me after and take up one of my paid trainings for ads so that we see how we can improve the skill you have. So I'll start off with Facebook. And when I do the demo for Facebook, it's almost just the same on Instagram. It's just that the platform has a different look in terms of color and logos and all that. So for Facebook, if you wanted to run an advert today, under each of your posts, if you have a business page and a personal profile are two different things, but that's not a conversation for today. If you're very, very curious, please Google to see the difference. But most of the time when you're on a business page, you see the results for how your page is performing at the bottom of each post. So like for this client, you can see this specific post reached 25 people. There were no engagements. There was sort of no distribution score. If I go to a different post, you realize the reach was 31, engagement was 1, and so on and so forth. So if I wanted to run an advert, there's a boost button here. This is usually the easiest way for someone to run a paid advert. It has its advantages, it has its disadvantages. But when this button was created by Facebook and Instagram, the main aim was specifically to build awareness for brands. Awareness in the sense of they will get you more eyeballs to see your advertisement, and then they sort of leave the rest within the control of the consumer. So if you're looking to get more tangible results in terms of action, sometimes this may not be the best button, but sometimes you may be lucky enough to get great results from that button. So this button on Facebook is called Boost Post. On Instagram, I think it's called Promote. It's at the same position at the bottom of a post for as long as you're on a business account or business page. So if you wanted to run an ad, and allow me to just show you, if you click on this Boost button, it takes you to an entirely different page. And that page sort of looks like this. So on that specific page, first things first, and you'll remember that some of these things I've highlighted while I started the intro, you'll realize it asks you, what results would you like from this advertisement? By default, it comes as automatic. As explained, automatic is where you let Facebook or Instagram determine the most relevant goal based on your settings. Is it a good idea to leave it at this? In my opinion, no. Sometimes you need to take control over your ad as much as possible. So you simply click on this change button and look at all the options listed and pick whatever applies to your business. So you could decide you want to drive more people to inquire via message, either on Facebook, Instagram, or WhatsApp. You could decide you want more engagement. Engagement in this case is in form of likes, comments, and shares. You could decide you want more leads. Leads is where someone fills a form on Facebook, almost like a contact form on your website. So people get to fill lead forms. We also have where you want to drive people to your website, so the website visitors, or get more calls. So depending on what fits best, you pick what applies. As you get to run ads more often, personally, like I have, you realize that some of these goals do not work for some businesses. So for example, for my business, for example, digital marketing, most of the time when I run an advert to get people to message me, I don't get people who are interested necessarily in my service, but rather I get people who are interested in you answering a question for them that they have around digital marketing. So I'll spend money I'll answer people's questions, but not many of them may convert. So for me nowadays, what I use is then the link to get more website visitors. So I drive them to the company website and they're able to know what we do. And if they like, they can actually convert. So sometimes we drive them to our actual website. Sometimes we drive them to the link that has our company profile on it, so that by the time they're done reading, they sort of know the next steps they should take. So for demo purposes today, assume we want to drive more website visitors. We click there, then we click on save. So you can see our goal changes to website visitors. I'll pause there for now and move to a different platform just to show you the goal aspect. Remember, I'm not showing you how to set up ads. I'm just sort of explaining some elements, but for a platform like Facebook, you'll sort of see us go through the whole process. So if I was on a platform like Twitter, what do the goals look like on that side? So if I wanted to set up ads on Twitter, there's a button here called More, just under Profile. If I click on it and click on Twitter ads on this menu, it will take me to the section where I need to set up my ads. And the first thing it will ask me is, what goal would I like to achieve, or what objective? So as compared to that other side, you can see the goals are sort of categorized into 3 categories. So goals for awareness, goals for consideration, and goals for conversion. So awareness has 1, conversion has 1. But if it's consideration, you just want people to start gaining interest and considering to work with your brand or purchase from your brand, you can see options are more. It's not just website. You could decide you want more views on your video. You could decide you want more people to install your application. Maybe you have an application on Play Store. You could decide you want more followers. You could decide you just want more engagement. You can see the options for goals are much more on this side. Same thing on the other side. What if you are running an advert on LinkedIn? The simple way. So on LinkedIn, there's a simple way, there's a complicated way, but for today's simple way, if you are on your business page, say this was your business page, this one is for my company. At the bottom, at the top of each post, there's a boost button, just like Facebook. So if you click on it, it takes you to a page where you can do your setup for your advertisement. For demo purposes for now, I just want you to see the difference between the different goals on the different platforms. If I come here, it tells me select objective. If I do the drop down, I only have 3 options of objective. It's either I want to drive traffic to my page, it's either I want to increase awareness for my post, or get engagement. They don't have more. There's nothing like video views in this simple way, for example. There's nothing like drive traffic to an app, and so on and so forth. So already you can see it's very important for you to have a goal. So if you start setting up your advert without a goal, you get stuck at step 1 already. So that's how different platforms sort of do the distribution of goals. Until that point, any question before I go to the next step? Okay. In case a question comes up, feel free to just type it in the chat, then I'll address it at some point. So the next thing, on some platforms, you'll be asked to choose a button. So depending on what your goal was, so if it's website visitors, you need to have a button that will drive people to the website. Usually it looks like this, what we have at the bottom of this image. So this one is book now. You can change this button based on the options listed. So do you want people to book? Do you want people to learn more? Do you want people to shop on your website? Maybe sign up, maybe call you if you put your number. So for now, let's say we want people to learn more. We put in our website and you sort of continue with the process. So already you can see on the right, you get to see a preview of how your advert would look on social media. And this is on feed. If you wanted to see more previews, there's a button here called See All Previews that gets to show you how it will look on stories, on reels, and so on and so forth. But again, we're not setting up ads. So key things, again, that I'd mentioned you need to take care of or highlight very well when you're setting up your advert is your target audience. So under target audience, the first option is usually a smart audience. Smart audience is based on how Facebook has understood your business and your page. So like for this client, it's understood that most of the time they're targeting people living in Kenya between this age group with these interests. Is it correct? Yes. So if it's correct, you can leave it at smart audience. But should you come to Smart Audience and find Facebook is recommending things that are out of this world and not related to your business, you could come and choose people you choose through targeting and you edit. But before I go to that edit button, you could also decide you only want to target people who like your page only, or people who like your page and people similar to them, for example. Then this GD Nutrition is an audience I created. So you can create a totally new audience and save it and name it. So assuming we want to edit this audience, we can click edit button and you come and choose the gender. So if you just want to target men or women alone, you can choose that. Age groups, you can play around with that depending on who you're targeting. Locations, you can put whatever location you'd like. In terms of interest, that's what detailed targeting is. So I'd like to show you how things change. For now, we're targeting Kenya. The estimated audience is at the bottom here. I've just highlighted it. It says we'll reach 10.4 million if we target Kenyans between that age group and that gender. But if I come and say, let me add people who are interested in health and wellness, and let's say people who are interested in mortgage loans, the number has changed a bit. So it's moved from 2.3 million to now 3.5 million to 4.1 million. So as you play around with these interests, your numbers will change down here. As long as it's on this green section, you're good. Sometimes it will be on this specific section, it will tell you you've overdefined your target audience, or like it's too specific. If you come to the broad side, maybe it's too wide, you need to target some more. So for as long as you have this green bar, then you know to keep going. Let's say we changed our location. I'd like you to just see how the number at the bottom here will change. So rather than targeting Africa, let's say targeting Kenya, let's say we're targeting Africa. The number has now changed from 3 million to 79 million. So as you keep refining your target audience, you'll realize an estimated target audience will be given here. Does it mean that these are the people you'll reach? Well, it's dependent on your target audience. This just shows you these are the potential people available that have Facebook as a platform, for example. So if you spend the maximum amount of money, you'll reach them. But if you spend a specific amount of money, I'll show you where to get that estimate. So let's assume you're happy with your audience, you come and click save. And it now takes you to the next step where you choose how long your advert should run. So actually, this is one of the things that is also important when it comes to making the best out of your paid ads, because sometimes if you run your adverts for such a short time, they may not perform as well and you may waste your budget. So for me, I usually recommend all paid adverts, whatever platform they're on, should run for at least 10 days or more. Why 10 days? Because the first 3 to 4 days of an advert, it's doing something we call learning. It's showing to different people based on your definition of target audience, trying to figure out how long did Melanie look at this ad? Does that mean she's interested? How long did maybe someone else look at this ad? Should we show them the advert again? Did they react in any way that could have shown they have interest? So the first 3 to 4 days is almost like a waste. So if your advert runs for 4 days, then you honestly have meaningless results. So usually I say 10 days going upwards. So you can choose the number of days and then you can sort of choose a budget. So like I told you, minimum per day is around $1. And so for now, you can see my account is in Kenya shillings. Don't mind that. So for me to run my advert for 30 days, I need to spend almost like 3,400 or 3,500. So based on this total budget, it shows me here on the right, I will reach 999 to 2,000 people per day. These are estimated daily results. And the number of people who will click to go to my website based on those people who will see the advert are between 19 to 54. If we change this total budget to something like 100,000 shillings, the numbers for estimates go way higher. And that's why I was telling you, the more you spend, the higher chances of you reaching more people and getting more results. So it's up to you to choose the budget based on that. Then the final thing, you could also get to choose what platforms do you want your advert to show on. So if you're running your ad, if you're setting up your advert on a platform like Facebook, like right now what we're doing, it allows you to show your adverts on Facebook, on Instagram, on Messenger. So if you want them to only show on Instagram, you have to remove Messenger, and you have to remove Facebook. If you'd like them to run only on Facebook, you sort of remove what you do not want. And of course, the estimated daily results change. So like now, if I change it to Instagram alone, you'll realize the number will be much, much lower than what we had on Facebook. So I just wanted you to keep that in mind. Very important for you to define your target audiences well, to define your placements well, to have a good budget, and let your advert run for a sufficient number of days for you to make the best out of those paid ads. So I'm sure that even as we're going through this, some of you are probably noticing the reason why your last advert did not work or your last client's advert did not work could have been based on one of the different things I've highlighted throughout just this explanation. So before we go to Google Ads, I think we've covered social media. Any questions around that?
Hi, Melanie.
Hi, Erica.
Yeah, I have a question on like your recommendation.
Okay.
How, like a service industry, like for you, the service you're providing, I'm kind of doing the same.
Yeah.
How long would you advise me to run ads? Maybe should I go for $1 for 30 days or maybe $5 for 10 days? Which one is more effective according to your experience?
So for me, I'll give you my personal experience of my own brand, not a client. I use the $1 per day for 30 days, simply because one, I want you to think of it in terms of billboards. Today, when you leave your house, whether you're walking, driving, using a public transport or whatever, you'll see so many billboards, but you may not necessarily buy from them today or tomorrow or this month. But when the need arises, there are chances that if that advert was constantly advertising and they're sort of top of mind in your brain, you'll remember them. So for me, I go for the longer period. In fact, for me, I can gladly tell you for my business, we run adverts January to January, regardless of what digital marketers say, that when you start running adverts, paid adverts, sometimes your organic reach is lower. I ignore all that because I know the power of ads. I've had people reach out to the business even 6 months, 1 year later, telling me things like, I took this screenshot 6 months ago. Is this offer still on? You're like, are you still offering this service? So I know the power of running adverts for a very, very long time. And the beauty about running them for a long time, even if it's just that 30 days, Erica, you're able to get lots of learnings from it. So especially if you track it on a weekly basis, you're able to know this week, this is how to perform. Maybe I made these changes, then in week 2, the performance went way, way up. What could have been the reason why? So you're able to get lots of great analytics that will help you. I hope that answers you.
Yeah, very much. It answers me very much. And a small follow-up as well. Between using the boost posts and ads, which one is more effective?
So for my clients, I use Facebook Ads Manager. The reason I do that is because with the boost button, like I mentioned, majorly it was created for awareness. So it's just now that they've started introducing different goals that are a little bit specific, but it still functions like an awareness button. But when you set up your ad the difficult way, which is what I'm calling the ads manager way, you get, number one, to have more placements. So in addition to Facebook, Instagram, and Messenger, you're able to run your adverts on something they call Audience Network, which is basically websites and applications that Facebook has partnered with that allow them to run ads. So you can already see if Facebook has partnered with a website like Business Daily, you'll be setting up your ad on Facebook, but your adverts will be appearing on Business Daily simply because those two companies have a partnership. So it allows more placements. It allows more, can I say, editing of the advertisement. So if I can show you an example, for instance, from just what I was setting up right now, sometimes you'll want to edit more sections of the ads, especially when you're a digital marketer and you sort of want to have more control over the ad. You'll realize that there are places you want to edit. So for example, on this screen, you'll realize maybe this part that's written Susan Nganga Holistic Wellness and this part that's written Health and Wellness Website, you'd want to edit that. If you use the boost button, you cannot edit that. But if you use Ads Manager, you can do that. Something as simple as maybe you want to have different sets of ads and test them out on different audiences. You can't do that with the boost button, but on the ads manager side, you can have variations. Maybe you can have, you're passing the same message, but you have 3 different images and 3 different captions to sort of see which one will perform better. So those are sort of some of the limitations of using the boost button versus the ads manager site, which is a little bit more complicated for especially like a busy business owner, for example. Yeah, but if you're a digital marketer on this call, please make it your problem to learn Facebook Ads Manager. It's going to really change your game when it comes to ads.
Wow, thank you very much.
You're welcome. Nice. Anyone else with a question before we proceed to Google Ads? Fantastic. In case any question comes up, I will give you another opportunity to ask. So we've talked about running ads on social media, whether it's Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, LinkedIn. I've sort of shown you an overview of how the goals look on each. But what if you were running adverts on a platform like Google? So Google platforms contain things like the results you see after doing a Google search. They also entail the ads you see on YouTube, the ads you see on Gmail. They could entail some adverts you see on different websites and applications. So they could vary, but you set them all. Most of the time, people use a platform called Google Ads, but sometimes people partner with other organizations that do the same thing to run those adverts. So some of the things you need to keep in mind, of course, depend on what kind of advert you're doing. If you're doing a search advertisement, which is basically an advert that is triggered when someone does a certain search on a platform like Google, then what happens is you need to look at some of the things we've already highlighted in the previous conversation we've had. So you definitely need to have a goal. That's the first thing. You need to figure out how you measure it. You need to define your target audience, your gender, their age, location, your budget, and so on and so forth. So because I'm not teaching you how to set up ads, I'm just going to mention some of those things that you're going to highlight when you're doing your setup for ads. But most importantly, what makes it different from setting a social media ad if you're doing a search ad, you need to come up with potential search terms that people could be searching for, or keywords that people could be searching for. So how do you get to know this? 1, you need to know your audience. If not, 2, you have to have had a very good website developer or a good digital marketer who did your website to be able to sort of trigger some of those words based on your website. So we'll start the simple way. Let's assume today you are a company that allows people to do online shopping. Today, a normal consumer, if they were looking for a company to shop with, they'll come and search for online shopping websites in Kenya. Let's say that's my location. If I want to know what else are people searching for, you can already see from here, it tells me people also ask these questions. So you could decide you'll have these questions when you're setting up your advert, or you'll have some of the phrases in this question. So maybe you could decide in your advertisement, you'll set for anyone who searches for cheapest online shopping in Kenya, my advert should trigger. Or if anyone who searches for best online shopping websites, my advert should trigger. If you even scroll to the bottom of this search on Google, it even shows you more things that people could be searching for. So you can see people are searching for pay on delivery, online shopping, Kenya, online shopping sites. So this is basically thinking like the consumer, and it's a good starting point, especially if you have no idea what consumers are searching for. But let's assume then you did your website, a good job was done, you have good keywords on your website. What do? You just go to your website and you copy your website link. So for instance, this is my website for my company. And when you get to the level of setting keywords when you're doing your Google ads, again, remember, we are not setting ads today, but as you're setting up your ad, you get to a section where you need to add your search keywords. So basically, keywords that will trigger your advert. So you could type, which is what I've shown you on that side from the Google search, you could type them here, or you could enter the name of your product. So say today we are selling furniture. For example, if I search for furniture, just at the bottom of this furniture, it will sort of tell me these are some keywords that people search for when it comes to furniture. So you could decide to add all the ideas they suggest, and they all come here to the left, or you could add some. So you can add one by just clicking on the plus. But if you'd not like to search by product or service, you could come and put your website here, enter a related website. So either yours or a competitor's. Remember, they've said related, so it doesn't have to be yours. But at the end of the day, when you're setting up the ad, any Google ad, either has to drive people to your YouTube channel or your website. Most of the time website, so you'll need to have a website. If I paste my website there and click enter, it will populate all the keywords that it could find on my website. So these are the ones it could find. If they are not there, it will also tell you no keywords exist. So if you want to add all of them, you can sort of just add that, then click on save, and they'll appear in a table like this. So this is an advert for another client. That's why you're seeing a lot of interior stuff. So you could also manually do it like that. Once you manually do it like this, when your advert runs for some time, then you can now allow consumers to help you generate keywords. So for instance, after you set up your ad and maybe it's run for say a week or a few days, you get a report like this one on the right, this one I'm sort of hovering on. So this shows you, this is what people are searching for. So in terms of full searches and in terms of words, if I start with words, it sort of breaks down into one word each. But if I come to searches, it tells me most consumers are either searching for interior design, interior designers in Kenya, and you can see it actually shows you what they're searching for. People could be searching for fine urban interiors, maybe prime house interiors. So you'll notice some searches are very specific to some consumers. So you could find maybe only one person searched for it. We all Google things differently. Today, if I asked us to Google, to pretend we were searching for an online shopping website, we could all have different ways to sort of do that search. And this is a good point to learn, because once they are generated, when you click on this section for all searches, you're able to actually select all, the whole table, and add all of them as a keyword. So as you keep learning as a digital marketer, you learn that sometimes it's not good to add all. So it's good for you to add those ones that are either a phrase match or exact match, because sometimes you'll add on something that is a broad match, and then you end up losing money. So for instance, this one is looking for a specific company. If I set this as my advert, I may end up losing money because I'm driving traffic to that company more than my own. So those are just different ways you can sort of come up with your search terms. If it's maybe a display ad rather than a search ad, display ads could be in the form of pictures, could be in the form of videos. That's the YouTube bit I was talking about. So if it's in form of pictures, of course, you'll upload. If it's in form of videos, you'll put a link to a YouTube channel. But in the end, your advert will look something like this. Let me hover, something like this. So for like this is a still image for a client. So someone will see this advert, there'll be an information button. You can see the blue information button slightly at the top of the image. And if they click on it, it will take them to a specific website. So like if I click on this advert here, it will take me to the specific website that is pegged to that image. So display ads are really beneficial because you can sort of do that kind of thing. And these display ads could look different. Like I mentioned, they could be YouTube videos, either at the beginning of a video, in the middle of a video. It could be display ads in the form of a square like this. Sometimes it could look like a banner. If you go to a website like Business Daily, for example, you will realize that through their website, they have some advertisements, which I'll get to show you. So majority of them are adverts from Google. So what has happened, it means Business Daily has allowed Google to showcase adverts on their platform. So like here we have something for this company called cm.com. This is an example of a long banner. If you come to the side, we have a square banner that is animated. It's not still. As you can see, they are moving elements. If I scroll down, let's see if we'll get to any other ad. We have a few others for houses. So it's basically image and text. We have that here. So you can see the adverts can be different. It doesn't have to be a still image the same way. So those are just examples of display ads. But as you can see, it's very important for you to understand, how does that visual look? Is it communicating? When it comes to adverts, you need to try as much as possible when you're doing a paid advert, your images should not have too much text, because sometimes the text makes the advert not perform well. So communicate in the least possible words, especially in your visual, then sort of have somewhere else people can go to read more information if need be. So those little things are the ones that will save you money and make sure you're making the best out of the money you've set up for this specific advertisement. So for that side of Google Ads, anyone with a question? I'll be happy to take questions now before I finalize.
So Melanie, I have a question again.
Okay.
What you have just shown us, is that what is called SEO?
Nice. I like that question. So SEO is basically a score that Google gives you, or any other search engine platform gives you, based on where your website ranks when someone does a search. So for example, that search we did for online shopping websites, I'm sure some of the companies you're expecting to see if maybe you lived in a country like Kenya would be things like Jumia, Sky Garden, Kilimall. So what makes Jumia show as the first website as compared to the last one? That's what we call SEO. So the SEO is based on the keywords and the key phrases they have on their website majorly, but it's also based on how much money they're spending on ads, if at all they are doing ads. So you'll realize for some industries, like today, if I searched for flowers in Nairobi, you'll realize that almost the entire page is running ads. So they have a little word here on the left, I'm just hovering around it, called ad. So for this page, there's nothing like organic SEO. Organic SEO is where you don't pay. So simply, almost everyone is paying, which means that the higher you pay, the more chances your website will be fast. But if you come to something like, let's say, digital marketing agencies in Kenya, you'll realize that most of the time there are no adverts, but more of articles. But you realize, for example, like this first company is called Kwetu, then we have Agency Africa. So what makes Kwetu come before Agency Africa? It's the search engine optimization. This means they have more keywords, more key phrases that people are searching for that make people visit it more. So it ends up ranking as the first. Does that answer you, Erica?
Yes, it does. Thank you very much.
You're welcome. Anyone else with a question? Happy to take any. So as you think of your questions, what happens after you've run your paid ads for a certain duration of time? You don't just stop and never do ads again or run ads again. What you do is you start analyzing your performance. Remember, you set a goal, you set a way to measure the goal. So it's for you to now figure out how exactly did that advert perform? Did we achieve the goal we wanted to achieve? So some people could look at the goal alone. Some people could look at something we call the cost per click. And cost per click is basically where you're trying to see how much did we spend based on our goals. So if you wanted website visits, how much were you being charged per website visit? This is important so that then you know how much more or how much less do you need to spend next time to even get better results. So you need to analyze, figure out what worked, what did not work. Don't just leave your ads at that. In addition to that, after you do your analysis, you could decide, okay, this advert did pretty well. Maybe the next thing for us to do is not so many people maybe took action or as much action as we wanted. Maybe we can retarget them. So when you're running paid ads, something else you can do is something we call retargeting. So retargeting is where you basically only show the advert to those people who engaged with it the first time when you did it. So what that does, it sort of helps you narrow down only to the interested parties and continuously show them your advert so that you're top of mind. Remember the billboard example? That's why we do retargeting. So running ads is a whole conversation. Some of the things I've just talked about today are some of the things that could be hindering you from making the best out of your budget. you can spend a minimum, if you're running adverts, $1 a day for 30 days. You can spend a minimum of $30 on platforms like Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, and Google Ads. A platform like LinkedIn, they charge $10 per day. So in a month, you need about $300. So it's for you to choose which platform suits you best, what budget can you start off, and keep growing it going forward. So I can see we have a question in the chat. Pat is asking, Facebook always shows people talking about a page, etc. What does this imply? So I've always seen this insight and wondered why it's there. They used to show it. I think they're not showing it anymore. But basically what this used to mean is people are engaging with your page, either through likes, comments, and shares. So it was just a way to sort of put pressure for you to sort of see, these other pages look like they're doing really well in terms of engagement. Maybe I should do better and improve my content. So that's what that was all about. But I think Facebook have reduced the amount of reports you can see now. So that's one of the reports they've kicked out. So ladies and gentlemen, that's it from me today. Those are some of the things you can keep in mind in order to make the best out of your paid digital marketing or paid digital advertisement. I hope those lessons will help you going forward. I have a Word document where I've sort of written some of those pointers. I'll share it with you together with the recording just so that you can refer to it at any point. But as we finalize, I'd like to do a round of just comments. In one word, maybe just tell us how you found today's session, preferably on audio. I'll start with Pat. In one word, how do you feel about today's session? Maybe as we wait for Pat, we can go to Evans. Evans, how do you find today's session?
It is really very, for me, because it's a new area I'm trying to lay my hands on. Yeah. It's quite fascinating, yes. Nice. I'm really learning a lot. I've learned a lot.
I'm glad. Yes. Thank you so much.
Yes. Yes.
All right. Maybe we can hear from Aisha. One word for today's session from you. As we wait for Aisha, maybe we can hear from Anne. Anne, how was today's session for you?
Hi everyone.
Hello.
It was very informative. I am so grateful for it.
Fantastic.
Yeah, thank you.
Most welcome. I'm so glad. Aisha, any chance you're ready?
Today's session was amazing.
Nice. Thank you so much. I can see Pat in the chat saying it was very informative. Thank you so much, Pat. Maybe finally we can hear from Erica. How was today's session for you?
For me, it was eye-opening. Thank you very much.
Fantastic. I'm very glad that you've all had a good experience with today's session. Thank you so much for joining in. I'll be sharing a link on the chat. I have a few more trainings left, actually two. One is around an introduction to email marketing and what it entails, as well as a final one around how you can make the most of your website when it comes to your online marketing efforts. So I'll be sharing this link in the chat. I will also share it on the email when I share the recording. But in case you'd like to attend any of those other pending events that I've talked about, the link is on the chat. I look forward to seeing you guys again. Thank you so much for coming in. Thank you for keeping time. Have a lovely day or evening, depending on where you are. So thank you so much for joining in. Stay safe.